Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. It is me, once again, screaming into the void of the internet. Closing, so I'm here, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk about something, guys. I don't want you guys to think that this is, like, my mental space right now, but I want to talk about two things. Well, I guess it's not really two things. It's a wide variety of things. I want to talk about things that the Blackpill is 100% right on. And I think it's the truth because a lot of people don't want to come to these conclusions, and they feel like the Blackpill ruins your life. Although, listen, like I said, black pill, red pill, blah, 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 blah pills. I feel like they're elements of truth, you know? Is everything in it 100% true? Not necessarily. Some of it is subjective. But for the most part, a lot of what they say is true. What I kind of want to talk about with the black pill, though, things that people really focus on. And I'm looking at this from a standpoint of, again, like somebody who's not caring about relationships and stuff like that. You guys know where I stand on that, right? But, however, I want to talk about something in relation to looks and how the world perceives you. I am so irritated with the way that things are in this freaking country, with the way that these freaking chicks are objectively doing something wrong, and they get praised for it merely because they look mildly attractive. Oh, I can fix her. Oh, the kid didn't have a bad time. She's hot. Blah blah blah. That crap is so bad, dude. Because you know that if it was a guy, even if the guy was attractive, by the way. Well, actually, I'll talk about that, right? But even if the guy was attractive, he's gonna, like, just get the book thrown at him, you know? But these chicks are getting off scot-free. Like, I'm really sick of it. I'm really sick of it, dude. I was looking just the other day about this chick that was molesting, like, freaking special needs students. She doesn't even look attractive, and she's been getting away with it for 5 years. 5 years, just because she has a freaking hot pocket and she's an average-looking chick. I'm so sick of that, dude. It's 100% right that your looks will determine how this freaking world sees you. If you look relatively attractive, you can get away with a lot of crap, especially if you got a hot pocket. If you got a hot pocket, you'll get away with a lot of crap. If you're a guy, you ain't gonna get away with nothing. But that doesn't mean that you can't get bailed out, because listen, what I'm gonna talk about that in a moment is the truth. Okay, you guys remember that air quotes hot prisoner meme thing, and the chicks was drooling for this guy, and I think he went to jail for, like, beating up a kid or something like that. And all of these chicks, you know, we're talking about how hot he was, and he literally got basically a sugar mama to get him out of jail, and then he started a modeling career. And, you know, the funny thing about that, at the end of the day, is this. I don't really know if it was just the fact that he was relatively attractive, more so than the fact that it was just an extreme, open public documentation of hygristophilia. That's the attraction that a lot of these chicks have with criminals. Because, listen, I don't think men are attracted to criminals. I think men usually just want the chick if she looks, like, hot, right? If a guy sees, like, an average freaking female inmate and it's, like, just a freaking, like, just freaking wall just smashed into him and crap like that, they're not going to think that's fine. But when it comes down to these ladies, you got to understand, these freaking serial killers, these freaking serial rapists and stuff like that, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer, Richard Ramirez, like, a lot of these people you can think of, they do not look that attractive. Yet in freaking prison, they were swamped with love letters. And I think it is because it is a primal thing with the chicks. Guys, I'm going to tell you something about attraction. I don't really think it's just what you think it is. I don't think it's just looks. I also think it's status. It's a guy's ability to, like, do some certain things. I think there is some kind of primal thing, because those guys are not that attractive, but all of a sudden they freaking off somebody and they're getting, like, swamped. And I think it goes back again to the primal thing where, in her mind, right, if you're willing to kill for whatever reason you did, then hopefully you'll kill for whatever reason she wants you to, you know, and you'll protect her. And that's what's going on in her mind, because I'm telling you, like, I watch a lot of freaking serial killer documentaries and stuff like that, and these guys, look, they can be ugly as crap, and they just get swamped with love letters. So I don't really think it's, you know, as black and white as certain people make it out to be, but I'm speaking about that from, like, again, like, you know, kind of the best example in the sense that the Blizzax community, the Nibbas, you know, we know the most about that. And sorry if I freaking slammed that on the table, my bad. We know the most about that because, listen, our community has, in my opinion, and I don't really like to claim part of it, but, you know, I got melanin in my skin and I came from the hood, so, hey, right? They actively breed criminals. They have done everything in their power to try and kill intelligence, because intelligence to me isn't really just something you're born with, and I know I mentioned this last video. It's not just something you're born with, it's something that you nurture. If you don't nurture it, then you're not really going to give a rat's arse. There are very sharp people that, you know, maybe in the freaking Blizzax community, but because they say, hey, well, that doesn't get me the chicks, hey, that doesn't get me, like, you know, friends and stuff like that, they don't really nurture it. And so they just, you know, start speaking in antibiotics. Hey, yo, what's that over there? You know, like, they act like they can't pronounce certain words, like ask. You know, they always say ask, right? They say it like that. There's complete ratchet. You know, like, there's a lot of crap that people don't really realize about that stuff. And I feel like when it comes down to, like, the nature of justice and how justice is administered, you know, even though it's already kind of effed up to begin with, in the realm of, like, you really just only get the justice that you can afford, it's still irritating to know the fact that if somebody is attractive, mildly attractive, then they're going to suffer a different penance than if they were, like, just some air quotes ugly guy, right? As I take a sip of that. That's irritating to me. That's irritating. And they might not suffer a penance at all, depending on what it is. And some people will just straight up bail them out because they think they're hot. And I think that's a goddamn disgrace. I really do. But I kind of want to take a point to talk about the fact that, yeah, that's 100% true. And the Blackpill's also right on the fact that, yeah, your life is objectively harder because you got a dick and balls, you know? You are a pack mule. The world sees you as a pack mule, and all they want you to do is just bust your balls and work yourself to death. And your reward at the end of the day is supposedly, you know, banging a chick, popping out babies, so that they can deal with the same bullcrap that you're dealing with. But I kind of want to talk about the next point that I have, even though, like, I'm going to kind of go on, like, a little bit of a tirade right here, so I hope you guys are ready. I hate a lot of stuff about this world, dude. I really do, and I want to make this very clear. This is not, like, where my mental space is, you know? Not at all, but some people trying to say that intelligence is a burden. I don't think it is. I think intelligence makes you more disgusted with humanity due to the fact that it's not that they don't have the ability to do something, it's that they choose not to. And they try and tell you stuff like, oh, you're just being negative. Don't focus on that. Focus on the positive. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on solutions. Here's my question, okay? How in the hell are we supposed to solve problems if we don't admit that they're there? How can you formulate the solution unless you admit that there's a problem? Why is this entire world just built on people that just want to pretend like things are not what they actually are? Let's just start out at the basics, for God's sakes. You start out, you don't get the ability to choose where you go to, right? The idea is that even if you start somewhere hard, you'll get something based on how hard you try and opportunities. But we know that that's bullcrap, okay? We all know that that's bullcrap. You can bust your balls, you can do everything in your power to be the hardest worker possible, but that doesn't guarantee anything pays off. Where you come from actively 100% can affect where you're going to go, what kind of opportunities you're going to have. Because listen, if you really believe that, then objectively speaking, if you were born in the Middle East right now, then you should have the opportunity to, again, you know, be some kind of air quotes multi-millionaire and move away from there and be fine. Even if you were born to basically like a freaking family just with camels in the desert, right? That's not how that works. Are there people that, you know, kind of broke the mold and got away with that regardless? Yeah. If this freaking thing lands on me, I'm going to lose my mind. Hang on. If this freaking beetle lands on me. Okay, there we go. Yeah, some people will break the mold, but that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen consistently. All that people have done is lie to children and tell them that you can be anything, you can do anything, blah, 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 blah. And I don't necessarily think that we shouldn't tell them that, but we should kind of be honest about, you know, like, what it is that we're getting into. And this is kind of what I'm going to talk about when I get to the subject of children, like, after this. But, you know, as you mature, you realize just how much of a lie that is. You know, you realize, especially in today's generation, we are busting our arses harder and harder and harder for less and less. And these old freaking timers are always just saying, you just need to work harder, bro. You know, back in my day, you know, I had several jobs and blah, blah, blah. And this cocksucker was buying a house for $30,000 and You know, like, I don't get it. Like, he could walk into somewhere and start working within the same day or the next day, you know? And now it's mainly just, you just have to spam applications like what I'm doing right now, and you have to hope that you get something. And even if you get a job, look at what just happened. My freaking hours get cut, and they're just gutted. They're just gutted, and the bills don't really give a rat's arse, you know? Everyone tries to tell you, hey, listen, you're a superstar, blah, 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 and they make it seem like the world's this nice, beautiful, wonderful place, and it's not. The world doesn't give a rat's arse about you as a human being. Like, we are living in a world that is entirely run by an arbitrary concept, and yet everyone goes along and dances to it. Money. Money has no real value. Money has no real value. None at all. It is inherently based on the faith that we believe that this has value. If somebody were to make a counterfeit currency right now, and it was picture perfect, you want to know what's going to happen? Rich people are still going to be rich. You want to know why? Because even they know that the money doesn't really have any real value. That's why they buy up assets. They buy land. They buy capital. They buy houses. They buy a whole bunch of crap that's not just paper. Or gold, for that matter. Value has always existed in things, not currency. And you can go ahead and choose not to believe this, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Listen, if it was a blackout right now, you know, people can't work and all this bullcrap, trust me, and we kind of go back to like kind of survival style, listen, people are going to trade and barter. Period. That's what's going to happen. You can choose not to believe that till you're blue in the face. That's what's going to happen. This paper currency bullcrap, no one's going to care about that. They might wipe their arse cheeks with it, but no one's going to care about it. And yet here we are, dancing and singing like freaking monkeys in a circus, chasing this freaking garbage that doesn't have value. And everyone knows it, but no one's going to do anything about it. Which kind of gets me to the point that I'm talking about. It really pisses me off that when people like me and people that are sharp bring these topics up, all you're met is with the same thing like I just mentioned before. You're being negative. Don't focus on that. Focus on the positive. What you need to do is find a reason to live and stuff like that. And they make it seem like you don't have a reason to live if you're, you know, admitting that there's problems in the world. And again, what did they tell you? Oh, you just need to get laid, bro. You need to get you a girlfriend and you just pop out some kids. You know, I used to be like that until I had my family. And I'm like, oh, so what you're saying is you'd rather pretend that the problem's not there. And then guess who ends up getting affected the most when you really think about it? Because you're just constantly pushing the problem under the bed. The kids. You would think that people that are going to pop out kids, people who are going to like get tethered by family, you know, like you would think that them of all people would want to try and minimize as much unnecessary problems as possible for the sake of their kids, for the sake of their family. And yet they don't do anything. In fact, they do the opposite. Oh, I'm just going to focus on my kids and not care, even though in the future they're going to have to inherit this crap. They're going to have to deal with a lot of the problems that we're dealing with now. And it's funny because, you know, when you really think about it, we did see this coming in a certain aspect. I remember when I was younger, I saw a, excuse me one sec. I saw this little, I guess a street interview, if you want to call it that, where this reporter was going around and asking several people several questions. I think it was about like the cost of living, but it hadn't like blown up to what it is now. I think it was more along the lines of like when the economy was effing up, like back in 2008. Like it's effed up like way more than that, obviously now. But you know, like they were asking like, how are you going to protect your kids from this? And they said, oh, I'm sure that they're going to figure a way. And I'm like, hold up, these cocksuckers say that they love their kids, and yet they don't even want to try and think of a way to kind of protect them from it. Oh, I'm just sure they'll figure it out. But these are the people trying to tell you about how much they care. You know, you don't care enough. That's why you don't have kids. You know, I believe what I say, and I actually put my money where my mouth is. And they say that stuff, and then look at how they don't care. They have no way to actually protect their kids from this stuff. But if you call it out, then you know you're the bad guy. I hate so much about that, man. I hate the fact that men in general are what they are now. I hate the fact that we are just being destroyed on a freaking global level, dude. It's not just the West. It's everywhere, dude. This crap's going on in the East, everywhere. Like, the emasculation of guys. The pursuit of treating guys like freaking doormats and stuff like that. And guys, even encouraging other guys, like, I don't think simps even comprehend. And these pussy beggars, I hate these freaking pussy beggars, man. I hate them. Hate them. They have no idea what they're doing when they're just over here just begging like dogs for scraps. These chicks just laugh as they got you dancing in the palm of their freaking hands. You'll do anything for that crap. They have no intention of ever, like, doing anything with you. They have no intention of ever dating you, marrying you. And yet here you are. And even if they did, they're going to leave your arse in a minute. They're just going to do it for the money and then divorce rape you. But these freaking pussy beggars make it seem like no problem here. You know, no problem at all. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. You know, like, oh, you should just be concerned about getting the puss. That's all that matters. Always get it. It's the most important thing. And if you try and say, hey, listen, it's nice, but it's not necessary, they go crazy. They can't believe that you'd ever value discipline more than puss. Because listen, I have this opinion of the matter that, yes, it's nice, but there's a time and a place. I don't go around just pussy begging all the time. The fact of the matter is, you get a girl and all that's going to happen is your resources go down, not up. If you're fortunate enough to find somebody who is actually willing to build with you, good. But let's be real, that is not enough. If that was enough, then people would not be having this problem with divorce, would they? People don't want to build. They just want to take. They want to take, is what it is. We are pack mules. That's how the world sees us. And no matter how much we try and get people to see that we aren't just pack mules, they don't care. And I'll give you a prime example. Think about therapy for a moment. When chicks go to therapy, what is sold to them? The world's against you. It's the patriarchy. It's this, it's that, blah, 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 blah. All right? All of the problems are not internal with the chicks. Right? Guys go to therapy. Guys talk about maybe getting divorce raped. Guys talk about how he's being treated in his relationships. You want to know what happens? The complete opposite. All of the problems are within the guy. None of it is against the system. It's all with the guy. When the chick talks about it, system. The guy talks about it, internal. I hate that. You know, we're supposed to, air quotes, be in this generation, in this age of equality and all this stuff. Yet they still want to assign us to, like, so-called traditional roles where we're supposed to get kidnapped. You know, that's what drafts are, by the way. You get kidnapped. And you get thrown into a situation where you're killing somebody else's son. For what? Some cocksuckers you're never going to meet? Some tiny hat bastards so that they can rake in the money? Because war's profitable, by the way. Yeah, it's very profitable. Not for you, of course. It's costly for you. You're going to lose limbs, blood, all kinds of stuff. Friends. Maybe lovers. Maybe you're one of these idiots that gets married and you think that your freaking spouse is going to, you know, be waiting for you, and they're just getting obliterated because it's so easy to cheat. Yeah, we're the ones that pay for it. But everyone else gets richer, you know. Just look at what happened in Ukraine, for God's sakes. Chicks are sitting there in a country where they talk about how oppressed they were. The moment the bullets start flying, they get out of there. They're safe. They're in other countries twerking and dancing on graves as hundreds of thousands of guys, some not even 16 years old, are massacred. I hate that. I hate it with a passion, dude. I hate that in spite of knowing all of this, no matter how much you tell to other people, they'll look at you and tell you that you're the problem. They'll make it seem like because you acknowledge the way that the world is, oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Really, why? Why do you think that? Seriously, why? Why do you think that? At all points in history, you do realize that the so-called oppressors have always been the minority, right? Once people just rubbed their two freaking neurons together a bit and just decided to jump them, they couldn't do anything. Am I saying that I want everybody to just freaking take this over? Not necessarily, because listen, I'll tell you the truth. For some stupid reason, humans want to be ruled. And I think I kind of know why. It's because they want to take accountability away from themselves. They want someone to blame for when their lives are crappy. The fact of the matter is, objectively speaking, our lives are crappy because of people. Other people, right? No matter how hard I work, if the economy is dog crap, my life's going to be crappy, right? And so I get the luxury to blame someone else. Now let's take that away for a moment, and let's just say that we're not necessarily hunter-gatherers, but, you know, everyone is allowed to hunt their mules and stuff like that. Now, it comes down to ability. Do you know how to fish? Do you know how to hunt? So then, who gets blamed for why your life's the way that it is now? If you're a lot more independent. Well, it's going to go on you. And people don't like that. They like the ability to deflect and say that it's someone else's fault. And don't get it twisted. There is usually always another person that you can attribute, especially in today's kind of world, to the suffering. But there also is accountability that needs to, you know, take place on your part sometimes, dude. You have to be able to say that, hey, listen, you know, there are certain decisions that may have led me here, and you got to own it. I don't deny that sometimes I do kind of think about, you know, what if I did go to college for a moment, you know? But then I just remember I'd just be in debt. I look at all the people that did go to college and look at where they are. The fact of the matter is I'm making more money right now than some people who are going to get out of college. And I don't say that as a boast. I say that kind of as disappointed, dude. They spent 6 years, 4 years, even 2 years, whatever, right? God help them if they got their doctorate, right? 8 years in college. And some cocksucker at a restaurant is making more money than them. I hate how we live in a world where they try and make it seem like effort equals outcome. But we all know that that's a lie. You can work your arse off. You can give your soul to it and just not see any kind of reward, dude. And I'm not saying that you're entitled to it, but, you know, like, you would think that civilization, right, would work differently than how nature works. Obviously, nature's like that. You know, you don't always see a reward on effort. There's like hunter success rate versus failure rate, right? Obviously. But the way that it works here is you would think that the amount of effort that you put in, you know, translates into the rewards that you receive. But it's not. And so many of us are just told to ignore this. And that's why I honestly feel like, you know, a lot of these people that people consider intelligent, the more that you learn and stuff like that, the more that you just distance yourself from people, you know? With me, there's always a wall that I have around others, because it would be nice to have more friends outside of like the small circle that I have, right? But then I realize just how quickly you lose the so-called friend. They disagree with you on something. And while it may not be a big deal to you, to them, oh, now you're just Satan himself. For what? Because you disagree on something. You believe in something that they don't believe in. Your political views, like how you choose to like handle certain situations in general, that could be enough. Not wanting to party, not wanting to drink or something like that, that's enough. All of a sudden, this person, once upon a time, that might have considered you close, oh, they don't want to talk to you no more. All the favors that you wanted to do for them, now that doesn't matter anymore. It's ridiculous, you know? I think that is why, as people like grow more knowledgeable, the more intelligent that people become, the more distant they get. That's why so many of us in this space just check out, because it's like, we can talk about this to death. We can. But no one's really going to care. And for the few that do care, God bless you. I do appreciate you. But, you know, like, there is far more of the ones that don't than the ones that do. And I hate that, dude. The world is so freaking unfair. It's not even funny. But at the same time, you know, like, you gotta be real for a moment. Like, we also, like, do some unfair stuff, too, you know? Not to make this a vegan thing. I don't really care. I love meat. But think about what it must be like to be born as an animal. Right? To be born into a factory, growing at a rate that your body can't support, growing at a rate to where your freaking bones snap because they can't support your growth, being up to your freaking waist as a goddamn cow in manure, chickens that never see the freaking sunlight, Freaking baby chickens that get hatched only to be like blended and ground up if they're male chicks immediately. There is a lot of effed up stuff, effed up unfairness in this world. It's never been fair. If you're one of these cunts sitting around here talking about the beauty of nature, there's beauty in it, but I'd never say that nature is beautiful. There's beauty in it, but it ain't beautiful. Not by a long shot. Nothing's beautiful about watching a freaking hyena, like, rip a freaking pregnant zebra's belly open and eat the freaking baby while it's twitching and like, running, trying to get away or something. Nothing about that's cool. And the funny thing is, we sit there and go, oh, it's nature. But now let that happen to, like, one of us. Let that happen to, even if it's not, like, our kid. Oh, yeah, if that's a bear or something, that sucker's gone. We will hunt that bastard to the ends of the earth. But suddenly we're just supposed to sit around and go, like, it's nature. Listen, this world is effed up, dude. It's really, really effed up. And the reason that a lot of people just, do the best that they can to try and just be numb is because it's overwhelming at times. The sense of helplessness, That's why I say, like, if I had the ability to get something, like, I'd want power. And I'm not talking about, like, power is in terms of, like, just money power, financial power, like, government power. Oh, I'd actually want power. Actual power. Not to oppress humanity, not to, like, try and rule or something like that, just so I can be free. Because you want to know something? All I ever wanted, they would ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? I didn't know. My life was miserable. I got freaking abused all the time. I was starving all the time. My life was miserable. I just wanted to be happy. I wanted to be happy. And I felt the only way that I could ever be happy is if I could be free. Free from what was overwhelming me. I understand why a lot of guys, people in general, not just guys, but my heart obviously is always going to go out for guys more, right? I understand why you check out, guys. And I'm not just talking about mentally. I'm talking about, go ahead and Minecraft. I get it. Don't ever let these cunts try and tell you that you're a coward for doing that. It's just that you get to a point where you're just having so many bad days and you just don't see any kind of escape for that pain. And so you take drastic means to get away from it. I understand why you do it. And like I said, this is not my mental space. But I'm just kind of talking about this kind of stuff because I hate it, I mean, like, there's no denying. Like I said, I'm a very realistic person, guys. I understand. Like, hey, all of this effort could be for naught. I could just move into this place right now, and then I don't know, next thing you know, like, this freaking chick gets pissed off at me. I air quotes do something wrong, and I lose my job. Right as I move in, right as I get this room, right? It's ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous, and they don't care. Because they don't see you as a human being. You're a means to an end. I find it very amusing that we have an entire system that tries to analyze what a psychopath is, what a sociopath is. And then they usually say that it is when people stop viewing other humans as humans and they just view them as something to extract resources from. But hold on. Something's not right. This entire society stops viewing people as people and they just see them as resources to get from, right? That's why you bust your balls at work. That's why you're paying all of these freaking companies. That's why you're paying rent. You're paying for all this stuff. If that's the case, isn't this whole freaking society psychotic? I'm just being honest here. I'm just trying to ask a reasonable question that I feel like a lot of people are not willing to ask. It's all psychotic. If that's how we really want to, like, describe people. If not looking at others as human beings and only viewing them as something to get something from, again, is the definition of the mind of a psychopath, then this entire society that is built on that kind of fundamental has to be psychotic. Right? It has to. By definition. I don't know, man. It's just a lot to deal with. How do I hang on? Because for me, whether you guys want to call it cope or whatnot, like I said, all I want is to be happy. I don't care about pussy. I don't care about kids, because as far as I'm concerned, again, these people don't really want what's best for kids. They just want to pop them out. And then they'll hand them right over to this freaking system that'll screw them and ruin them and make their lives miserable. They don't care. They don't really care about if those kids are living a good life. They just don't care. If I was going to have kids, I'd want them to live a good life. I want them to live a fulfilling life, not slaving away. And we are slaves. Whether you want to admit that or not, we are slaves, dude. We're slaves to this crap. It's 100% intentional. You aren't meant to save money. You aren't meant to freaking be able to live comfortably. You live comfortably and you aren't spending excessively. Well, the good old government's not making enough money, right? They don't care. They don't care at all. What keeps me going, though, is trying to get past the bad days. I don't know how long the bad days are going to last. I'm not going to pretend like it's happy days all the time with me, guys. It's a struggle to get out of that bed in the morning. I tell everyone, listen, you got to find the reason to get out the bed. And listen, sometimes I have to find a reason. Sometimes I just want to sit there. Reason mainly just being because it's annoying. It's annoying what you have to deal with when you're just trying to fight for your freaking life. It's annoying to have to put up with a lot of crap that you don't want to put up with. But again, like, well, what are you going to do as a guy, right? There's no support circle that wants to save you. You don't get hired just because you got a dick and balls. It doesn't work like that. We don't get, like, DEI bonuses and stuff like that. We don't get that. So we are presented with two choices. To try and get money the supposed correct way, the good old wage cage, or we can try and do it the incorrect way, air quotes. And I do mean air quotes, because listen, at this point, I don't care. If you had to get by go ahead and handling illicit substances, if you can catch my drift, I don't blame you. The biggest criminals in this freaking world wear suits and ties, and they steal from everybody. Oh, but there's a loophole, it's illegal. That doesn't make it right. There's a lot of crap that's legal that's not right. You know? But I digress. You know, I kind of just wanted to get that off my chest because I was just, like, thinking about that stuff today. And it's really irritating to me. It's really irritating to my soul. It's not good to think about. You know, sometimes I think some of us guys, I just think that I don't even know if we're the same species. I don't mean that in the sense that we're superior to other people. I just mean that in a sense where you wonder if, like, this is even the correct species that you're supposed to be with just because of how out of touch with reality a lot of people try and move forward in life are. You know, the lack of empathy, the lack of willingness to handle injustice. You know, it makes you think. You know, am I really human? You know, because if other people don't act like it, so, like, why do I feel this way? You know? But I'm just going to go ahead and end it here, boys, because I got to call my ride. You know, we're getting closer and closer to this move date, and I still got to try and find a way to get another job because I still haven't seen anything. And I really hope that this isn't going to screw me over. I really do. I'm just about to move, and I've only got 15 hours. Whatever, though, folks. As per usual, again, thank you guys for listening, as always. I do appreciate it. I really do. You guys do give me strength, too, you know, more than you know. Once again, thank you for your ears. Thank you for your comments and stuff like that. I do appreciate it. God bless. Let's keep fighting the fight. I will see you guys next time.